Jim.
You're so sick. You know it's time to go.
Hey guys, welcome back to an episode by Burn World 2. Yes, finally another day vlog. So we haven't been doing day vlogs as recent lately. Just because like now that I'm out of school and everything, of course not from summer vacation, from graduating 2 years early. There's not as much going on really until I get a job and all that stuff. But I think you guys probably all like it a little bit more because yeah, there's not videos as often, but there's a lot more gaming videos and skits and whatever else, and less day vlogs and whatever, which is mainly for my memories, of course, but also for your guys' movie reviews and whatnot. So now it used to be like once a month for day vlogs. Now it's about once every 2 or 3 months. But first off, this one's as always as usual is starting off with a movie review, and this one is for Spider-Man Far From Home. So I went to see it the Sunday of the weekend that it came out. So for me, almost a week ago now. So the day that I'm uploading this video has been out like worldwide for like a full week now, pretty much exactly. So let's just get right into it. So of course it is the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, and if you guys don't know, it is actually the ending to Phase 3. You might have thought it was Endgame. Honestly, I didn't think. I would think it would make more sense if it was Endgame. Which at this point, I still kind of do think it does. The only reason I think that they chose Spider-Man Far From Home to be the end of Phase 3, which is the end of the first 3 phases, like that, it's like the end not only of the phase, pretty much the MCU so far, of course. The only reason it really is because it kind of sets up some stuff in Phase 4. So it is once again directed by Jon Watts, which is good because he does those like kind of teen comedy high school movies pretty well, just like the first ones. Yeah, so this one takes off pretty much right after Endgame ended, with Peter going back to school and everything. It actually starts off with like a little "I Will Always Love You" song, and then it like kind of over the Marvel opening. Or before that, it actually starts off with a little sequence of Nick Fury and Maria Hill going to a place in Mexico, and then the people, Nick Fury is explaining that the people there said there's a cyclone or whatever, and they said it had a face, and then all of a sudden, like Mysterio or a thing pops out, and it looks like Sandman. It's just I don't think it's Sandman because I thought he was gonna be in the movie a little bit more, but literally this opening sequence is probably about a minute long, and that's the only time you see him. You never see him again in the movie, and Sandman's a lot more significant than that. So he fights out, they start shooting at him, and then Mysterio lands, takes off his helmet, and says, "You don't want any part of this," and then he does his little shooting thing, and then it goes into the intro. So it has I Will Always Love You playing, and then it cuts to like it says in memoriam, and it shows like some pictures of like Iron Man, Captain America, although he didn't die, he's not really like there anymore, and then Black Widow, and it's just edited a lot like basically like how high school students would edit a video like in their first semester of like a video production class or something. I don't want to just say how a high schooler would edit, because of course, like in all my video production classes and whatever, like people can start learning how to edit pretty well. But yeah, so it's just really basic, made on like iMovie look and stuff. But yeah, it's just like a little montage of them, and then it like has Betty and the guy doing their little news thing and everything, and it was pretty cool because they actually showed like they call it the blip, the Thanos snap. And they're basically explaining why some people aren't, why a lot of people are like the same age, and those are the people that got snapped, and then the people that didn't are now 5 years older because they've been there the whole time. So yeah, so then they explain all that, and then so pretty much all the main characters that were in Homecoming apparently got blipped because they're all the same age. Yeah, so, but then basically they show like a little pep rally they're having, or a game, and there's like the band playing on the basketball court, and all the students like cheering and filming and stuff, and then all of a sudden the band students like start fading away, and then all of a sudden it shows when they came back, and then the basketball game was going on like 5 years later, and then all of a sudden the band comes back in the middle of the basketball game, and like a baritone player just gets nailed in the head by a basketball. And then they talk about this guy named Brad, who's kind of like one of the new. He's kind of like the new Flash. I mean, Flash is still a pretty big character in this one, but Brad is kind of like the new, kind of just hated guy. But yeah, so he didn't get snapped, and so he's like the only one in their class that's like 5 years older now, and they're talking about how he's like a nerd that no one really liked or whatever, and then now 5 years later he's like one of the jock cool guys. So yeah, so throughout the movie he's basically trying to get with MJ, but of course Peter's trying to do that. So yeah, so basically they're going on this school trip, kind of like the last one, but this one of course is a lot bigger. They're going from America to like all these places in Europe. Throughout the movie, of course they have pretty complicated names, but yeah, they're talking about going to Paris and everything. That was actually Peter's big plan, was to get a Black Dahlia glass necklace and stuff. In the first place they visited, which was Spain, I believe. Can't really remember. It might have been Italy. But yeah, and then give it to MJ on the top of the Eiffel Tower. But they never end up going to Paris because of Peter's mission and everything. Yeah, so they go there, and then so basically, if you remember the scene from the trailers where Spider-Man was like fighting the crooks in that restaurant or whatever, and then the police were just like, "So you gonna be the new Iron Man?" He was just like, "No, I'm too busy doing your jobs." I didn't even realize until after I got out of the movie that whole scene was not in the movie. So I don't know if there's gonna be like an extended cut or whatever, but that was not in the movie. But yeah, so basically right before Peter goes on his trip, they're doing like this little like donation for like a big check from the Stark Industries. For like, I can't remember what it was for, but at this big rally thing, and then Aunt May has Peter come out, since she's apparently all good with his secret identity. He comes out in the Iron Spider suit, and he's all awkward and presenting the check and everything that Happy brings out. So after that, he packs for his trip, and he decides to leave behind the suit, but Aunt May packs it for him. Anyway, and then they go there, and he tries to get a seat next to MJ, and then with like Ned made up something with like a perfume allergy or whatever. And then of course there's two teachers. They're actually probably the funniest parts of the movie. The two teachers, they're just really weird and awkward. But yeah, so one of them, he was just like, I take those really seriously, and then he like switched them. So Ned ends up sitting next to Betty. MJ ends up sitting next to Brad, and then Peter ends up sitting with the teacher. So it doesn't not end up well. And then throughout a lot of the movie, Brad's just like completely hitting off with MJ. So then Peter's getting all jealous and kind of sad and everything. And then going on from there, basically. Not long after they arrive, of course, Peter gets the necklace and everything, and they're kind of just checking everything out. And then all of a sudden, while everyone's like checking out the water and stuff, like the river running through the place, right next to their hotel that's already kind of flooded, the water goes down in the drain and all that, and then all of a sudden, what they're named Hydro Man. Of course, I don't think they do represent those characters a lot. It's just all those characters like Hydro Man and Cyclone and Sandman are a lot more significant because none of the elementals are really in this movie for that much. And if you're a comic fan, of course, the elementals aren't like what they are in this movie. Mysterio just calls these guys the elementals. So I'm just going to call them the elementals, even though they're kind of a different thing in the comic books. But yeah, so basically Hydro Man comes out. He's the big old water guy, of course, and then Peter tries fighting him, but he's kind of not too useful against a big guy made out of water. So that's when Mysterio first comes in and meets Peter. So he's flying around, everybody's saying like the new Iron Man, and then so Peter kind of just does what he can to help. Mysterio doesn't really say anything. He just kind of acknowledges him and then leaves. And then later on in the TV, they're all looking at him and saying like, "Wow, he's like Iron Man mixed with Thor," or whatever they were saying. Doctor Strange mixed with Thor. I can't remember. And then everybody was saying he's like mysterious, and then they named him Mysterio. But yeah, and then later on that night, of course, Peter and Ned are in the same room, and then Nick Fury ends up shooting Ned in the neck with a tranquilizer, and knocks him out. And it was kind of awkward because when they arrived in the first place, Peter goes over to Ned, and all of a sudden, him and Betty are just like this couple. And yeah, throughout the movie, it was pretty awesome. Like Betty, you would just not expect to end up with Ned. But yeah, it was pretty hilarious throughout the movie, and they're just this really awkward couple. They keep on like booping each other's noses, and they're like always calling each other baby and stuff. It's really weird. But yeah, so that made for some good parts throughout the movie, though. So then like Nick Fury's talking to Peter, and then there's like 4 different people that come and knock on the door, or whatever. And so Nick Fury was just like, "We better get out of here, else then you and I are gonna be attending another funeral." So they got out of there and go into their little sewer-looking hangar place, and that's where Peter meets Quentin Beck. And also he ends up being like the escort throughout the rest of the trip, but his name is Dimitri. And in the comics, I believe he actually ends up playing one of Spider-Man's first villains named Chameleon, who also is really intertwined with the character Kraven the Hunter. So I don't know if both of them are going to be villains in the next one. I think that would be kind of cool to see Chameleon and Kraven the Hunter. But I don't know, because they're also sending up Matt Gargan, the Scorpion. So I don't really know what they're going to do for Spider-Man 3. So basically they meet up and everything. Quentin Beck ends up, he's explaining who he is, and that it's actually a multiverse now. And they're from Earth 616 from the comics, of course, and I can't remember his number, but he's from a different type of Earth, or he's from Earth, but a different kind of timeline Earth, whatever you want to call it. So he's pretty much like planning to get him with all that and everything, and then I can't remember if it's Nick Fury or Happy. One of them actually gives something that Tony wanted to give to Peter, which is actually his glasses, which has Edith, which stands for Even Dead, I Am the Hero, I believe. But yeah, so they were Tony's glasses that he was wearing a lot, and it was like I can't remember if it was like 3 million or 3 billion or however much it was, however much they're worth. But basically it's kind of just like an AI thing. You can call in like Stark satellite stuff. And yeah, he gave him to Peter, since he's like, a lot of this is saying he's gonna be the next Iron Man and everything. So at this point, Peter's getting kind of mad because, of course, he wanted this to just be a regular trip, and he doesn't want to do all this Spider-Man stuff. So he's like on the roof, and Mysterio goes up to talk to him, and there's like throughout the movie, there's like paintings of Iron Man and just drawings. Like you see Iron Man art all over the place. So they end up becoming pretty good friends and everything. And then okay. Later on, they're talking about that the elemental that killed Quentin's family was the strongest one, which is Molten Man, and that he's coming soon, that they have to fight him. But it's like in a different place that they have to go to, and they're going to go to a different place. So then all of a sudden, at this point, the other teacher, he's saying like, he's like the science teacher, and he's saying this is the cause of witches. But yeah, so then they just say that Peter says that Nick Fury just hijacked the field trip because they actually used Dimitri, and they have like this cool tricked out like bus and everything, and they're gonna escort them throughout the trip. But Also earlier on when they gave Peter his new black stealth suit, and it was like at this little like stop little tiny village kind of place, on a mountainside, and he like goes in. There's like this super spy woman person, and she's just like saying to take his clothes off so he can try it on. He's just like, oh, I'm sure it fits fine. And then Brad walks in when he has his like almost all his clothes off. So then he's like trying to tattle on him the whole rest of the trip. That he's getting, that he keeps on disappearing, and it's obviously to get with weird women throughout the trip. Yeah, so. And also, like on the first one, they sneaked in that, or it wasn't really snuck in, but there was a weird joke where it was like came in and Ned was like, they're just like in the computer lab, and they're just like, what are you doing here this late at night? And he's just like, porn. On this one, they're just like, how's the new suit? And he's just like, well, it's good, but a little tight in the old web, a little tight, or it's good, but a little tight in the old web shooter. So. Yeah, they sneak like the most inappropriate jokes into Spider-Man for whatever reason. Yeah, so then all of a sudden on the bus, Peter's like trying to use his glasses to look what everybody's texting, and he sees like what Brad, and he's trying to send the picture to MJ that he took of him, trying to try on the suit, and Peter accidentally calls one of the Stark drones, and it starts attacking the bus, but they luckily get that all figured out. But yeah, so later on, Dimitri is like escorting them around and everything, and they get to the new place. And then later on that night, instead of going to like an awesome party, he says one of the teachers says that they're actually going to go to an opera, and everyone is kind of disappointed. So some people try and sneak out, and then Peter of course has to, because he has to go fight Molten Man. So yeah, so they all stay and watch the opera. Some of them sneak out, and then he leaves, yeah. So he goes and meets up with them, and then there was like this really cool shot. Like Peter was on the top of one of these towers, and he was in his new stealth suit, and then it was kind of like panning around, and then it like showed him kind of just like slung on the top, and then there's like fire. You couldn't see him really, and then there's like fireworks in the back, and then it's like a cool. It was probably the coolest shot in the movie, honestly. It was really, really cool. And then he called in Mysterio, and Molten Man comes in, and of course any metal he eats or whatever, he gets bigger. So they're fighting him and everything. Of course, Peter can't really do anything again, because just the elementals, it doesn't really go with Peter's powers. So he's kind of just distracting while Mysterio takes him on. And then MJ's kind of running around too, because she just so happened to be there, and she gets one of the drone pieces, and she's kind of just hiding in an alleyway. And then Ned and Betty are actually on a steering wheel at the top, and then Molten Man kind of knocks it, so it's like sitting there. And then so while Mysterio fends off Molten Man, Peter's trying to save them, and to try hiding his identity. Ned tells Betty that he's like a European knockoff of Spider-Man named Night Monkey, which might be a reference to Spider Monkey from the comics, or whatever. So he ends up saving him, and they end up taking down Molten Man, and everybody like goes back to normal. But then Peter and Quentin go to like a bar place, and they're like talking and becoming better friends and everything. And then Peter was saying that he's like not really the next Iron Man. He's gonna like go on to a normal life and everything. So then he was saying like Quentin deserves the glasses a lot more, because if anything, he's gonna be like the new main hero. So Peter ends up giving up the glasses, which is pretty much the biggest part of this movie, because it's he has a good old time with him, drinks a bunch of lemonades. But then he leaves, and as soon as Quentin sees him like fully gone, all of a sudden he just like kind of smiles and says like, we did it or whatever. And then everything starts kind of just like blue, kind of phasing away, or whatever. And then some of the people start doing it too, and then only some people stay. And then he like starts saying like, now get this armor off me, and people start taking off his armor, and then all of a sudden you see that everything was, or most of the stuff was actually fake. And this is when he like, for the whole movie, he was kind of just like bland and wasn't really. I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of him, because he was kind of just like talking just like Jake Gyllenhaal would in like a regular interview. But then right here, he starts getting like, he's like all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's like one of the most charismatic and just upbeat villains of the whole MCU, and he's on the stage, and it was kind of cool because then all of a sudden he like starts referencing why people. He starts giving out his plan or what happened and everything, and it turns out that he actually invented Tony Stark's barf thing that you saw in Captain America: Civil War and what he was using. And you actually figure out that he is a VFX artist kind of person. Like in the comics, he was actually like a master magician slash wizard slash visual effects artist. So in here, he's just like a full-on visual effects artist that just wears a suit when he needs to. So most of the time, it's not him in the suit. Like whenever he's flying around, he's not actually in the suit. It's all just kind of like a hologram. Yeah, so he starts like talking to everyone, and then he points at the one guy, and it was actually the guy that on the first Iron Man, Obadiah Stane was yelling at, and he said like Tony Stark built this suit in a cave with a box of scraps. It was actually him. So yeah, so he comes back, and then a couple other people and everything, all screwed over by Tony at one point or another. But mainly, of course, Mysterio himself. They do that, figure out their plans, and then later on they decide that they're going to cancel the trip because it's just too dangerous. Everyone wants their kids back home and everything. Peter goes to MJ's room and says that he just want to like do something fun. And they go on a walk, and then they like start arguing because MJ said that she figured out that he's Spider-Man by now, and then he was just like, wait, is that the only reason you've been watching me? And then she was saying kind of. But yeah, then she like drops the drone part, and it projects like the Cyclone guy that they're making for the like final battle of the movie, and that's when they kind of figure out what Mysterio's doing and that none of that stuff is actually real. So then it cuts to like Mysterio and his crew. One of the main guy, like the guy that Obadiah Stane yelled at, he was behind like a computer. He's behind like some monitors, just like doing like visual effects editing and stuff. And then they're just like in this arena kind of place, and Quentin is just like in a he's just like in a kind of more mocap suit, motion capture suit, and he's basically like they're showing like the big old cyclone wind storm guy flying around, and then Mysterio flying around, and it's just all like fake and everything, and they're just like planning it out and making it. And it turns out Mysterio actually has all these little drones that fly around inside, and they just project everything. And so nothing's real, but everybody thinks it's real, and it actually, like, in all the drones and everything are all the stuff that's doing damage. So figures all that out and everything, and then he like starts getting pretty villain-like, and he starts like yelling at people and threatening their lives and whatnot. So they're back at like the motel and everything. Everybody's like figuring out the trip and all that, and they're like trying to head home. And Peter's real sad because he figures out like all of his trip plans are ruined and everything. But then they figure out like all the final battle stuff that's coming and everything. And so Peter like goes to Nick Fury and Maria Hill are like figuring out Mysterio's plan and everything. And then all of a sudden Peter goes to like confront him, and then all of a sudden like a drone comes and shoots Nick Fury. But then all of a sudden stuff starts like phasing away, and this was one of the coolest, it was definitely the coolest sequence in the game, or I mean in the movie. It was just like really what I wanted to see from Mysterio in this movie. I'm surprised that they even gave him the fishbowl and everything like most people. But I really just want to see some of his like trippy Doctor Strange type stuff. But this was almost better than like a lot of the sequences in Doctor Strange. But yeah, so basically it's like Spider-Man's there, and then all of a sudden Mysterio like pulls him in, and it's like this like echoing voice of like Mysterio like yelling at him and everything, and just like explaining stuff to him, and then all of a sudden Peter falls into like this black place with like green fog all over the ground and like some high school gym lockers and stuff. And then like Peter's just like walking through and everything, and at this point Spider-Man was like in his like regular suit, but then like when Mysterio brings him into this like place of like just VFX and whatnot, all of a sudden he's back in his regular, or he was in his stealth suit, but now like when he brings him into here, he's like in his regular suit, just so he can get those epic regular Spider-Man suit with the Mysterio and everything. But yeah, so Peter keeps on running around. He's not knowing what's real or what's not, and Mysterio's like beating him up, and he can't really do anything. and all of a sudden, Spider-Man's like, just kind of doing what he can to not just see what's real and everything, and can't really use the spider sense because nothing's real, so it can't really detect it. And then Mysterio's like throwing down giant spikes and everything, and then one of them lands and turns into like a gravestone, and Peter looks up and it says Anthony Howard Stark. And then all of a sudden like a Iron Man hand breaks out of it, and then Peter, since he has like this since he has like this PTSD of Iron Man and everything, like of him dying, Mysterio like makes him crawl out of his grave, and then it's like just like demolished Iron Man suit with like a nasty like skeleton coming out and everything, and he starts crawling after Peter, and then all of a sudden Peter like gets thrown onto like a construction site, and I thought it was like back in real life and everything, and he goes up and then he finds Mysterio in his like regular suit and everything, and then all of a sudden he gets shot from behind, and I was just like, does he really die already? But then all of a sudden it shows Nick Fury that shot him, but then all of a sudden like Peter tries to do something, and then all of a sudden he gets sucked back into this thing, and so I was just like, oh, that wasn't even real. And then Mysterio, he like is doing more stuff, and then all of a sudden like Peter wakes up in this like snowy like it was like a mini New York City landscape, and then all of a sudden it pans out and it's actually a snow globe made out of Mysterio's head, and then it zooms out and like Mysterio's all giant and everything, like in the like on the comic book cover and everything. So then all of a sudden he finally lets Peter go, and he's just Peter's just completely like, he doesn't know what's going on. He crawls onto a bus, and then he wakes up in like another country. I can't remember where. But yeah, so it's like, it's very uncivilized, and he goes up to a person who luckily has a phone, and he gets a ride from Happy, but first off he has to make sure Happy like is real, and he figures out through like a weird question and everything, yeah, it was kind of funny because like the question was like, he was like, tell me something only you would know, and he was just like, how about when you were at that one place, and you were renting movies, and you didn't know but I knew because they were too expensive to not be adult films or whatever. So yeah, so he's got this awesome new Stark jet as well, and he brings Peter on board and everything, and they're like in a flower field, and then Happy talks to him, and then all of a sudden like the back kind of unfolds and everything, and then it ends up just being like a little armor making station, where Peter can design new spider suits, and he scans through and he sees like some new spider suits. So yeah, so we might be seeing those coming soon. He got like the PS4 looking one and a few other ones. So yeah, so then he starts designing stuff. That's when you see him with like the hologram arm thing, and he like picks it up and like goes like that. And at this point, Happy was just looking at him smiling because it was reminding him of like, or just kind of bringing back memories of Tony working on suits and everything. So yeah, so he just smiles and he says like, well, I'll fly you there while you work on your new suit. And then he goes like, but first let's kick on some music, and then he starts playing Back in Black by AC/DC, of course, the song that they're listening to in the Humvees at the very beginning of Iron Man, the first one. And then Peter says, oh, I love Led Zeppelin, of course, because not Led Zeppelin. But yeah, so then it's like a cool shot. I think it'll be remembered kind of like of the Iron Man mask being put on and everything, but yeah, it just shows like the little spider logo being put onto the suit. And yeah, that was actually, I believe it's called the Ultimate Suit, but yeah, it's like the black and red Spider-Man suit that was mainly advertised for this film. But yeah, so he made that one, and basically they're heading in for the final battle. So at this point, Mysterio, or Quentin Beck, he's in his mocap suit, and now he has like a glass dome that he kind of wears to like talk and control everything. And they have this big old plan to use like all the drones and create this giant guy named, everybody's saying he's Cyclone. But yeah, he's basically just a giant storm cloud with like multiple faces and thunder and everything, and they're attacking, I can't remember what monument it was, but it's a bridge in the EU. Yeah. So they all go there. They're like just leaving town. They're like in a double-decker bus, but the top's open. And so the teachers are saying like, oh, the witches are attacking, and so they all start like trying to get off the bridge and everything. And MJ knows what's going on, and Peter tells her like it's just a hologram. Nothing can hurt you. But she's still pretty terrified because stuff is still getting damaged and everything. But basically, there's like this giant or like this little like glass walkway bridge thing that Mysterio he's kind of walking in and controlling everything with his people elsewhere, kind of helping him out and everything. But yeah, so Peter knows about all the drones at this point, which Quentin still doesn't know about. So everybody else, Happy says, "Come with me. I work for Spider-Man." And then people are just like, "You work for Spider-Man?" He was just like, "Oh, I work with Spider-Man." And yeah, so they all are about to follow him, but then the new Stark jet sadly just gets blown up. But I'm pretty sure Peter, in the near future, will kind of have like a Hall of armor making place, kind of like Iron Man did. But yeah, so they say new plan. They go to like this museum, and MJ picks up like a mace because like a drone's following them, and they're all hiding. But luckily, like the whole trip, Flash was like live streaming everything. Which kind of saved them because everybody knew where they were and what they're doing to save them and everything. But yeah, so and then like MJ smacks it, and then as they're leaving the room, one of the night statues had like a shield, and Happy picks up the shield and he like tries throwing it as they're closing the door like Captain America, and it kind of just flops, and he's just like, how does he do that? So it's kind of funny. So they leave, and the drone gets taken down. But yeah, so basically, Peter, it was pretty darn awesome because he actually goes inside the cyclone and everything, and it's just completely like empty. All there is just drones flying around, just like it looks like they're like scanning, but they're just like projecting everything inside. So he basically starts going around and just webbing everything up, all the drones, and they start like shooting at him. Don't know how not a single one hit him because each drone is equipped with like 2 Gatling guns, and there's just thousands of drones flying around everywhere. So at this point, Quentin starts getting a little suspicious. And then, if you guys remember the taser webs, basically Peter gets all of them webbed up and then uses his taser web, and basically all the drones that were making up the whole cyclone thing just get tased, and the whole thing just goes down. And so at this point, Quentin starts freaking out and saying, like, just do whatever he can. So he basically just ditches his illusions and everything. And then all of a sudden, so basically he just uses all the drones instead of illusions. He just uses them just to kind of fly around and just shoot at whatever he can. So Peter's just trying to take on as many of those as he can. And he ends up running out of web, so he's just, he comes out with like a little piece that MJ brought, and then like a little road sign as like a shield, kind of looking like Captain America did at the end of Endgame with Mjolnir and his shield. So he's doing what he can without his web, and then Mysterio's right on the bridge above him, and then so eventually he makes his way up there, and then Mysterio tries bringing him into another one of his illusion things, but then Peter closes his little eye things, and then he just depends fully on his spider sense, and so he can't see his illusions, so they don't count. So then he's just walking through. He does like this. It's like this really cool sequence. And he just like does like a 360 run around of the tunnel, and then he just like all of a sudden it just like comes out of the illusion, and then he just like kicks Quentin right in the helmet and shatters his like the front part of his helmet and everything. And so Quentin's just like pretty much done for right there, and he's laying on the ground, and then he gets shot by one. At that point, like his drones were around him and everything, and he like told them to fire, and they were saying like that they were too close to him to fire, and he said just fire. So then Spider-Man actually like webs one of them and makes him shoot Quentin himself. So he's pretty much dying on the ground, and then Peter like goes over to them to like try talking to him, but then all of a sudden like a gun shows up Spider-Man. He kind of detects something, and then all of a sudden at the last second he just like reaches over and grabs the gun, and then it turns out Quentin on the floor was actually like an illusion, and then Quentin right here was at the actual one. But yeah, so he actually ends up getting shot. I believe, I can't really remember, but I think he gets shot by another one of his drones or something. So yeah, so then he just falls down and almost instantly dies. But yeah, and then he's talking to Peter and everything, and Peter gets the glasses off of him finally and gets him back. So then he ends up dying and everything, and that's pretty much it for him. And so Spider-Man, his new suit, sadly all like torn up and stuff, but he goes down to meet MJ, and they get all back together, and then he gives him the he finally gives her the Black Dahlia, even though it wasn't where he planned it, and it was kind of broken. And she said she likes it broken better anyway. But yeah, they meet back up, and they get back home and everything. And at that point, Brad was trying to expose him, and he was just like, "Aren't you gonna get on him about like taking pictures in the bathroom or whatever?" Or no, he was saying like, "Aren't you gonna get on him like about meeting up with weird women?" And then people are like getting on Brad, and they're just like, "But you're taking pictures of people like that." And then the teachers were just like, "Yeah, don't do that. That's weird." So yeah, so it doesn't really end well for Brad, but yeah. So now Peter and MJ are like officially together. Let's check what time we're at. All right. So yeah, so then they basically all get back home. Flash, he gets back, of course, like he's wearing all of his rich people stuff, and he's like, he gets back to his like the person holding the sign, and he's just like, "Where's mother? Could she not make it?" And he said no. Which in the comics, his like mom and dad were abusive or whatever, and his mom like never made it to anything or whatever. But and he was kind of like poor, but. A lot of people don't think they're going that route with the movies because Flash has been portrayed as a pretty rich kid so far, and he's not really like a bully like he was in the comics, really. I mean, he's a bully, but he's not, like, horrible. Yeah. So, that is pretty much that. They get back home and everything, yeah, so then basically, it just shows, like, Peter and MJ back in New York City and everything, and then Peter's just like, "You ready?" And then he actually picks up MJ, and then it's like this cool sequence. They just go like flying around or swinging around New York City, and MJ's just freaking out. And then they end up like I believe in Times Square, and he just drops her off, and she's like, "I am never doing that again." And they actually like stop by this one sign, and it's in the back it actually says like 1, 2, 3, and then it says, "We can't wait to show you what's next." Obviously saying what's next in like Phase 4 and everything. But yeah, so that is pretty much where the movie ends. I don't think there's really anything else too significant there. Happy was a really good character in this one also. He's like a big fan of Spider-Man now, and he's just really good friends with him. He's pretty much like Happy was to Iron Man now. Yeah, so then Nick Fury he's like all picky like he usually is and everything, and then he was just like you're just gonna let Spider-Man go like that, and then he's just like, "Oh, he'll call you," and then Nick Fury of course got put to voicemail earlier in the movie, so he was just like, "He'll call me, right?" Yeah, so then after the credits, the first post-credit scene is pretty darn big, because if you guys remember Sam Raimi's trilogy, J. Jonah Jameson, pretty big Spider-Man character, was played by the amazing actor J.K. Simmons. He actually comes back, but now he's actually bald like he usually is, but he still like has his mustache and whatever. But now instead of like a newspaper company, he's got with the Times, and he's doing like this one thing. He's a lot. People have been saying they're kind of mocking like he's a lot like Alex Jones with like Infowars and stuff, which he really was, and he sounds a lot like him in the movie too. But he's basically talking about Spider-Man, and then they actually show Peter like gets on top of a building after dropping MJ off, and it's like in the middle of Times Square and everything, and it's like on worldwide news. And then all of a sudden they show like this clip that Mysterio recorded right before his death, and he actually took audio from Edith and like warped it together or spliced it together to actually earlier on he said like he said like disable all the drones or whatever, and he said there'll be like significant catastrophes, and he says yes. But here he actually like makes it so it sounds like Peter says yes, so it sounds like Peter's like a big villain. So don't know how they're gonna deal with that in the next movie or going on, but yeah, that actually kind of happens in the comics. Mysterio frames Peter a lot and makes him come out to be like a bad guy. And Mysterio really messes with his mind, not only with his illusions, but also just doing all that. And then Mysterio says, like, it shows a cut of Mysterio laying there dying, and then all of a sudden he says the true identity of Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And of course he says that worldwide, so I'm pretty excited to see how that ends up for Flash, because of course he hates Peter Parker. He's always making fun of him, but then he's always on about how much he loves Spider-Man and all that. So I'm excited to see, like, I hope they show his reaction or whatever in the next movie, to just figuring out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But yeah, so now the whole world knows, and also the whole world thinks that he's a big villain. So yeah, don't know how that's gonna go on. Yeah, so then in the next and final end credit scene, basically it shows Nick Fury and Maria Hill driving back, and also Maria Hill like phases into a Skrull. If you guys don't know, they're of course the green alien people that shapeshift and everything. They're also on Captain Marvel and all that. And people are saying eventually there should be like a big secret wars like there was in the comics. And this, I think, is setting up a lot of Phase 4. I think they're going to do a lot of Secret War stuff in Phase 4 going on or whatever. But yeah, and then all of a sudden Nick Fury phases through and he actually turns into Talos, the Skrull, kind of the main one in the MCU so far. That was also on Captain Marvel, of course. And so they're talking and she's like getting on him about contacting Nick Fury. And so he eventually actually does. And then it cuts to like this giant spaceship thing in space, and Nick Fury is just like chilling, like in this chair, like sipping something, in like beach clothes, and then it like kind of zooms out, and then it just goes away, and he's actually just like in a simulation thing, and he's just on this like big spaceship, just like with like Skrulls working all over the place. So yeah, so it turns out this whole time Maria Hill and Nick Fury have been Skrulls. It doesn't show Maria Hill on the ship, so I don't know where Maria Hill is as of right now. But yeah, Nick Fury, for whatever reason, is on a spaceship in space, and as of right now, nobody knows how long Maria Hill and Nick Fury have been Skrulls. But that's why Talos was saying. That's why earlier people kept on asking like Nick Fury where the rest. Peter was asking like where. If like couldn't any of the other Avengers help and everything, and Nick Fury didn't know what to say because he wasn't Nick Fury. But yeah, he was saying like why it was tough performing or pretending to be Nick Fury. But yeah, so apparently as of right now they're working with the Skrulls or whatever. But they're I think that is teasing what's gonna happen going on. Yeah, so that is the end of the movie. So. Also, when they got back from the trip, Ned is talking to Peter, and they're like, he was saying that him and Betty actually broke up, and they're saying he like throughout the whole movie he was saying like he was a boy and now he's a man and he's found a woman, but now they broke up and that's what happens. So they're not together anymore. But it was a pretty funny little thing throughout the movie. So. Overall, I believe that's pretty much everything I want to talk about from the movie, but not for like the actual regular review part. So overall, honestly, I actually liked Far From Home more than Homecoming. I'd say not by like insane amount, but I would say that I do like it better than Homecoming just a little bit. But yeah, Mysterio, like I was saying at first, he's kind of just like monotone and kind of. I mean, at first you kind of just think he's just kind of working for. Or he's just kind of like working with them, the good guys, to fix or get rid of the elementals and stuff. And he's just like constantly talking in like the same voice and whatever. But then once he like all of a sudden he like gets like he reveals his true plot and what went on, gets all charismatic and everything. I actually really liked him. Of course, I love Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. I mean, I've seen so many movies with him. Of course, like. This movie, like Mysterio, once he was like got all charismatic and stuff, he was a lot like his character in Knight Strider, which is probably my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie, honestly. But yeah, so it was kind of like Mysterio mixed with his character in Knight Strider, honestly. But yeah, of course, I've also seen like of course Southpaw, Donnie Darko, probably my second favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie. And then you got Jarhead. And Brothers was pretty good too, and whatever else. He's in a lot of movies, but yeah, he's definitely probably top 10 favorite actors in my opinion. So I was really excited when he was casted as Mysterio in here, especially because he was actually originally Peter Maguire wasn't going to return, or Tobey Maguire wasn't going to return for Spider-Man 2, and it was actually about the role of Peter Parker was actually going to go to Jake Gyllenhaal, but it ended up not. Of course, but he still got to play in a Spider-Man movie eventually. But yeah, so honestly, I absolutely loved him. a lot of people are saying like his motivation's kind of flat, like, oh, just another guy who's mad at Tony Stark for whatever reason is going after him, which I do kind of agree with that. But I just love the visuals with him. I loved how he's like a visual effects artist mixed with like a full-on like wizard kind of person. But like all the wizardry was fake. It was just VFX. Yeah, and I just really liked him. The final battle was really, really cool, and just of course the sequences with his illusions and everything was just absolutely awesome. And then of course, Tom Holland was absolutely awesome again as Spider-Man. Happy. This was probably uh, played by Jon Favreau. Again, was pretty darn good. Or actually, really good. Honestly, this was one of my favorite performances by him in the MCU. But yeah, I absolutely loved Happy in this. Aunt May was also pretty good, and also they are kind of like flirting throughout the movie. So, and then they kind of like Happy expresses his crush on Marissa, or not Marissa Tomei, Aunt May, and so yeah. So I don't know if they're gonna be together in the next movie or what, but I think they're gonna carry that on. MJ as a character is a lot better. I did like her in the first movie, but in this one she has a lot more character overall, and she's just a lot better. Flash, I think, is about the same, maybe a little improved. Ned, he was definitely a little bit of a smaller character in here, not a lot. I still liked him, just I think I like him better in the first movie, honestly. Just this one, I mean, they had like him and Betty, but other than that, there wasn't a lot for him to do in this movie. But yeah, honestly, the teachers, they were probably some of the best parts of the whole school thing and everything. But yeah, and also them just traveling around and everything and all the sets was some of the best in the MCU, honestly. But yeah, so could probably talk about a little more things, but overall, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, CGI was pretty good. Of course, I was saying like they always could improve on when like Spider-Man, he kind of moves around, looks like Play-Doh sometimes. But I didn't really notice that at all in this movie, so I think they're really kind of getting him down and everything. But yeah, CGI was probably the best out of any Spider-Man so far in this movie as well. But yeah, so overall, Spider-Man Far From Home, very good. It's pretty awesome. That's the end of Phase 3. And yeah, so if you haven't seen it, definitely I would make sure to go check out in movie theaters if you can and if you want to. And definitely get it on physical media once it comes out. But yeah, so that is pretty much it for my review. Finally, took a little longer than I thought it was going to. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, so now on with the rest of the day vlog as quick as we can. Alright guys, so now going on, I got my little paper of stuff to talk about in this video. But yeah, so first off, some stuff in the video. So hopefully you guys like the pictures from my 4th of July. Didn't make a full video of it because of course I'm out of school now and didn't perform in the parade for the first time in past 2 years. So we pretty much just went to, we had like a family dinner and stuff. And we went to the fireworks and stuff, but took some cool photography there and whatever else. But also the biggest part is Jim the bunny. So yeah, so basically me and my mom, Springer was barking at something and it sounded a little weird, so my mom went out to investigate and she found that two bunnies had, I don't know if they were stuck in there or if Springer chased them in there, but yeah, they got stuck in the screen door, or the screen in between the screen and the window of our laundry room. Yeah, we got them out. One of them was actually, like pretty much fine. Eventually we let him go and he went back to behind our shed and was good. But the other one was pretty stunned. He actually hopped out and fell all the way from the window to the floor. It's very heartbreaking. But yeah, he ended up being pretty much fine. He had a bloody nose and we were taking care of him and everything, and I named him Jim. And we kept him in a whole hamster cage that me and my dad cleaned up and everything. Yeah, so, and then it was me releasing him and everything. And it was really cute because if you watch on the video, he actually like turned around and it says bunnies only have they can only remember things up to 4 minutes. But yeah, it was kind of cute because if you saw him in my hands, he actually like turned around and looked at me, and it looked like he like thanked me or whatever. And then he turned around and then kind of hopped off. So yeah, so it took a little while before he actually like hopped and stuff. But after that, you guys saw that me and my dad kind of remodeled our deck and everything. But while we were doing that multiple times, Jim actually came out when Springer was inside. He actually came out and he would actually just let me and Dad pet him and whatever else. So yeah, so We haven't seen him in about a week and a half now, so I don't really know what he's up to now, if he's still under our deck or whatever. But hopefully he's doing all good. But yeah, so he's kind of just like our little pet for a little bit there, and then even once he was outside, he was just like our little pet, and he was visiting us while we were doing our little project. So yeah, so that's that. So what else do we have? I'm drawing. I'm in drawing. I'm in drawing. Post revamp. So yeah, so if you guys can see, my room, it might look a little more empty on the walls, but that's because I did a whole poster revamp. I took down tons of posters. It might not really look like it, but mainly right here, if you remember all my like band drawings and whatever else right here. Basically what I did is I just kept up all my drawings that I think are like more poster-like, I guess. And the rest of them I'm kind of just keeping with my drawing collection. I, of course, have a memory box out there, which is full of other stuff, including a lot of drawings from when I was younger. But basically, now in this drawer, I moved my Donnie the Dino costume into my hall bench I made out there. And now I have all my drawings right here. These are like my full page ones, and these are all these. So yeah, so these are all the drawings I took down. You can see a pretty big stack right there, and same with that. So yeah, so of course I'm not going to go through all of them. You guys have seen all these before. I just took them down. So yeah, so basically just real quick, of course you can see I got some empty space here and there. But yeah, I just moved my Deadpool drawing right there, kept up my Infinity Gauntlet drawing right there, and then moved my Office one over to here, kept that one up, and then I actually moved those over. They used to be on my door. I moved them over right there and kind of just hung them up, like that. And I actually made these collages of like Infinity War and Endgame, since I'm a super huge fanboy and everything, and they were really hyped up and everything. I basically just took all the posters, and put them together. So some of these are official, some of them are fan-made, but like usually fan-made ones aren't like amazing, but most of these are made by like Boss Logic, whatever. Which, if you guys remember, I used to have the Infinity War one. It was like a little small one, like somewhere around right there. Which a lot of these posters were on, but now I just enlarged it, and now it's right here with the Endgame one. So yeah, so Infinity War one, I just got all those posters. If you want to pause and look at it, it's got all those, including all the character posters, and then the really cool Infinity logo character posters made by, I believe, Boss Logic. And then I got an Endgame one right there. So again, if you want to pause right there, got all the Endgame ones right there. So yeah, so that's just like my little thing for those two films there. And then, yeah, so basically just moved all those. So just made some room and stuff. Made it a little less claustrophobic looking in here and everything. Yeah, so over here, I actually just hung this up, but I got this awesome poster. This is not a drawing, but my movie theater, everything that says, like, only in select theaters, I'm always just like, well, not our movie theater, because, of course, I live in Great Falls, Montana. Pretty small, not that great movie theaters. We didn't even get Isle of Dogs, even though they advertised it there. So, yeah, so we don't usually get stuff like this, but a long time ago, I actually got a free poster for, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first, Michael Bay one. And Star Trek Into Darkness, which I don't have either of those anymore. But yeah, they're almost the same size, but they're made out of like kind of magazine paper. But when I went to see Spider-Man Far From Home, I didn't even see the Instagram post or whatever about this, but they actually posted about this. But they had a whole stack of these, and yeah, they actually posted since they actually released Avengers Endgame back into theaters with like the unreleased footage and whatever else. They actually made these limited edition posters while supplies last or whatever, and they actually came to our theater. So yeah, so I just asked the guy if they were free after buying my ticket, and he said yeah, so I picked one up. And then I didn't even notice somehow until after the movie that I thought it was the Infinity Gauntlet, and then I noticed after the movie that it's actually the Stark Tech Gauntlet, which is kind of cool because I already have my drawing poster of the Infinity Gauntlet, but yeah, it's actually a Stark Tech Gauntlet, and you guys know the I Love You 3000 thing, but yeah, it says We Love You 3000 right there in Marvel Studios. And yeah, it's just really cool, like, kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, but kind of like this, like, splatter drawing kind of thing of the Stark Tech Gauntlet, but it is just really cool. And this one is actually, like, yeah, I can't really show you, but it's actually like some like really thick, hard cardstock stuff. So it's actually really high quality. I see them selling all over like eBay and Amazon and stuff for like $10. So it's like a free $10 poster, and it might pick up a little more in the future since it is limited edition and all that stuff. But very happy I ended up getting one of those. I absolutely love that poster. My mom and dad thought it was pretty cool. I got that for free as well. So what else do we have? So some drawings. Of course, I haven't done a day vlog. Just real quick, I haven't done a day vlog in the past 3 months. So once you guys see day vlogs, and I'm talking about movies and posters and stuff, some of these movies I might have seen 3 months ago. Some of these drawings I might have drawn 3 months ago, as I have not made a day vlog in 3 months. So yeah, so I do have 2 new drawings in here, which are on the top since they're brand new. So first off is this one, which I drew. It kind of tells you how long ago. I believe I actually drew this the day after I went to go see Avengers Endgame. I believe maybe the day before. But yeah, so it's basically a quote from the first, or from Avengers Infinity War. It says we're in the Endgame now, and I outlined that in like orange, and then the Avengers logo in orange. But yeah, so basically I just drew Star-Lord, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. As you can see, Doctor Strange right there using his little powers, and then Star-Lord right there. And Black Panther right there, kind of glowing purple with his build-up power thing. And then I actually drew Stormbreaker right there with lightning going all over the place, and a beat-up Captain America shield right there. So yeah, so I just drew some characters. Of course, I really like all 3 of these characters, and just, yeah, pretty cool right there. And then my next drawing is actually from like my favorite scene, of course, from Endgame. You guys know if you watch my review how I felt about this scene and everything. But yeah, so I actually drew this one. It basically just says I am Iron Man, which he says on the scene right before he snaps. But yeah, and then on I am Iron Man, I put that little shine right there, which you can kind of see. And then I put a little arc reactor as the O, and then the A, I put the little Iron Man mask logo thing. And then, yeah, so I put Robert Downey Jr. there with, like, the bleeding eye right there. You guys know I've drawn Robert Downey Jr. before right there. I think he looks a little better in that drawing. That's one of my best drawings I've ever done, but he still looks pretty good here, I think. And, yeah, he's all grubby at everything, as you can see. And then he's just in the beat-up Mark 85 suit. As you can see, I actually drew some, like, hexagons in there for detail, and then all the, like, shocking, whatever you want to call it, coming from the Infinity Stones. And I actually don't usually draw backgrounds, but I actually drew, like, some kind of, like, smoking rubble, the Avengers HQ, and his glowing arc reactor right there, and, yeah, the Stark Tech Gauntlet there. So, yeah, so drew that. So those are my 2 new drawings in there. So, yeah, so I'm just going to keep those in there, and, yeah. So, that drawer always sounds weird. But, yeah, so that was that new drawing. But now, on to my next drawing, which is this. My biggest drawing project of all time. I believe the previous longest time I've ever spent drawing on, like, one project was about 6 days. This took me, I started the day before Season 9 of Fortnite started, and I finished exactly 1 week later, or exactly 2 weeks later, I mean. So yeah, so this took me 2 full weeks to draw, and each day, and don't think I, like, drew every couple days or so. No, I think the smallest amount I drew was on the day of Season 9, because I was, of course, playing Fortnite and stuff. But other than that, I drew every single day for, like, a bare minimum of 3 or 4 hours, I'd say. And yes, I drew every single Iron Man suit in the MCU. I've drawn a couple of them before. They didn't look too good because it was a while ago, and I've drawn some of them in, like, other drawings or whatever, but no, I drew every single suit full. I didn't do any, like, shading or anything. I did on, like, some of the parts that really needed it or whatever. But yeah, I just basically drew the suit. I just didn't do shading because I didn't really think it needed it with this drawing. And then I also did kind of like a timeline across of all of the suits here, and you can just see this is kind of course, Iron Man is my second favorite superhero after Deadpool, and right before Batman. But in the MCU, he's my favorite superhero. So you can see just my whole door is like a mural. So at the top, I have my like my second best drawing. Of course, my first best drawing, I'd say, is still that one. But yeah, I still have that up there, which has been there. But now I have all these. So starting off with the first one, as you can see, this is my timeline, which actually does, like, carry across. I went with a little ruler and went across for all of them, and I actually drew the logos how they look like on the poster for each of the movies. So yeah, and I put the year that the movie came out right under it in parentheses. So yeah, so Iron Man 2008, all and it's like the suits that are all featured in the movie. So that's Mark 1, Mark 2, and Mark 3 right there. Next up is Iron Man 2 2010, which is Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5, which was my favorite suit at that time. Mark 6, and then I also drew all the War Machine. I didn't draw any of the Spider-Man suits, because Iron Man did design and make like his first few ones, but now it's going to be Peter Parker, and it doesn't like have the look of the Iron Man suit. He just designed them and whatnot. And then Avengers, yes, I do know Mark 6 was in Avengers for a little bit, but I just made Mark 7 as part of it, and I actually did do like a little lens flare right there. But yeah, Avengers 2012 with Mark 7, and then Iron Man 3 2013, you got Mark 8, Mark 9, and then all these ones, Mark 10, Mark 11, Mark 12, 13, and 14 right there. And then carrying on, I started the Iron Legion with 15. Technically, it does start with Mark 10, I guess. I just said it started with the ones that started having nicknames, so Mark 15. So then my next favorite suit, of course, at that time was Iron Patriot right there. So I just put War Machine, Iron Patriot in quotations for all the like nicknames. So I just started with the Iron Legion. So that's what this red line is all across those. So of course you got Mark. I'm not gonna say Mark on all of them, but 15 Sneaky, 16 Nightclub, 17 Heartbreaker, one of the main suits of Iron Man 3, and 18 Casanova, right there. 19 Tiger, 20 Python, 21 Midas, 22 Hot Rod, and 23 Shades, which as you can see, I did do all of the digital camouflage. That took forever, and it was very wavy on the paper right there. Kind of annoying, but since it was laminated, it's all good now. And then I did do all the flames and everything. That turned out pretty well on Hot Rod. And all that there. And then 24 Tank, 25 Striker, 26 Gamma, 27 Disco. And as you will notice with Striker and Gamma and a lot of these other suits, some of them are completely identical just with different color schemes. So some of the suits I literally had to draw multiple times and then just color them different. As you can see, the only difference about Gamma is like the green and then some face parts and stuff. But other than that, they're the same suit basically. So next up, 28 Jack, 29 Fiddler, 30 Blue Steel, and 31 Piston, which for Blue Steel and Silver Centurion I did do with their little like spikes coming out, and I did do like where parts are like grubby looking, I did for Fiddler's arm, and then also on Mark 1, as you can see, there's like some dirt and whatnot. But yeah, so then Mark 32, Romeo, 33 Silver Centurion, 34 Southpaw, 35 Red Snapper, and then 36 Peacemaker, 37 Hammerhead, which I mixed like light green, dark green, and like a cyan kind of color to make that kind of submarine green or whatever you want to call it there. And then the first like bigger suit, which is Igor, of course, and then one of my favorite suits, Gemini, which I did go through and put some more of that hexagon just to give him a little more depth, and yeah, it looks really cool there. And then 40 Shotgun, 41 Bones, and then one of my other favorite suits, 42 Prodigal Son, or Extremis. And that is the end of the Iron Legion, and Iron Man 3 finally right there takes up literally like 90% of it. And then Avengers Age of Ultron 2015, starting off with Mark 43. Then you go off to the first Hulkbuster right there, Hulkbuster Mark 1, which Mark 44, and then 45, and War Machine Mark 2 finally right there. Then you go on to Captain America Civil War 2016 with Mark 46. And then War Machine Mark 3, which I did draw with his little deployable sword type thing. And then Spider-Man Homecoming, really like how that looks too. But yeah, you got Mark 47 there, which is the same suit as Mark 46, just with all the silver and stuff. And then you got Avengers Infinity War right there, 2018 with Mark 49 Hulkbuster Mark 2, which as you can see I did use two different reds, just for like the more shiny ones and then like the more kind of matte red ones. And as you can see, there is actually a gold and a purple, which the gold is for the suits like Infinity War, and the purple is actually Endgame. So as you can see, I actually did a loop right here in gold because, why I did that is because all of the suits except for Mark 50 are also in Endgame, so that's why I put it over here, but over every suit except for Mark 50, because all the other suits are in Endgame as well. But yeah, and then moving on to the final one, of course, we got Avengers Endgame right there, 2019, and then War Machine Mark 4 right there. Nice beefy one again with that digital camouflage and the 004 and all that. And then Mark 50, Bleeding Edge Mark 1, and then you got Mark 84 Rescue, which is Pepper Potts' suit. And then the final one, Mark 85 Bleeding Edge Mark 2, which of course is like my favorite suit out of all of them. But yeah, so that is all. So yeah, it took me forever, but and I of course have my like signature on every one of them. But yeah, absolutely crazy. So hopefully you guys like that. It took me forever to draw, and I was so happy when I was done. And I literally listened to every single one of my movie or my music playlists. Which if you guys have seen my playlists, I have a lot of playlists. I'm a huge music lover. And I listened to every single one of them, which is, and some of them I listened to multiple times. Like some of them I listened to 2 or 3 times through. So yeah, so that means I listened to over 1,200 something songs while listening, or while drawing that. So that just shows you right there how long I was drawing. So next up is the arc reactor right here. So as you guys know, I used to have one of these that I made a while ago. Here's a picture of my old one compared to my new one. So yeah, so you can just see how much better this one is. But yeah, it's basically just a remake. But it is the little proof that Tony Stark has a heart that Pepper made for him on the first movie, the first Iron Man movie. But I made this quite a while ago now. But yeah, as you can see, I actually used like actual like ribbon stuff, and I used a lot more stuff to make it have a lot more depth. And I made it a lot more movie accurate. I used popsicle sticks I painted with my model paint for silver, and I used more ribbon to make like a more accurate like kind of wire battery box to make it light up, which mine doesn't light up, but in the movie it's for it to light up. But yeah, and I put that around it. I didn't just write it on the platform right there. And I just like super glued and wrapped around all the ribbon, which took quite a while. But yeah, you can see there's actually depth right there, and it looks a lot better. I like it a lot more, and it's just a lot better. It's not just like cardboard and duct tape and permanent marker. So yeah, so next up is a custom Lego minifigure. Haven't made one in quite a while, but I actually made this a couple days before I went to go see Spider-Man Far From Home, just because I'm, of course, a huge fan of Jake Gyllenhaal, but also Mysterio I like quite a bit as a character, so I was pretty excited for the movie. But yeah, I actually made Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home. So yeah, so I actually used that helmet. It's actually a piece, so I shaved off all the bottom because it's like supposed to connect to like other Legos, but now I just shaved off the top or the bottom part and painted the rest of it gold, the little bottom ring there. So it's a lot more minifigure scale, and it looks a lot better. And yeah, I did all my painting. And if you're wondering what this big green thing is, it's actually like his like green fog, like so it looks like he's like flying kind of. And I made a custom cape and everything. But yeah, so here's some more detail pictures. If you're wondering what's in his helmet, it's actually like a rolled up piece of little paper that I kind of dry brushed silver to make it kind of look like his fog kind of flying around in there and whatever else. But yeah, so that's that. I think it looks pretty darn cool. And yeah, and so actually, I believe the day after I went to go see Far From Home, maybe a couple days after, I actually went and picked up this pop. Because again, I love the character quite a bit in the movie. And I absolutely love this pop. Probably one of my favorite pops that I have so far. But yeah, it's just like the basic Mysterio pop from Spider-Man Far From Home. But yeah, I absolutely just love it. Of course, he's a Marvel one. All like the Disney-owned franchises are bobbleheads, so he's a bobblehead. But yeah, so his helmet's just really cool. It's actually like got a separate piece in there for like the fog kind of going around. And then he's got his cape all flying around, which has really good detail, if you can kind of see right there, the green. But yeah, it's kind of just flying around there, and then he's actually like floating with his green fog right there, kind of swirling around him, and then his weird little Illuminati triangles that he uses throughout the movie to shoot his lasers and whatever else. So yeah, so I absolutely just love that pop. No, it is not the Walmart exclusive that glows in the dark. I got it from Target. But yeah, and of course I got Vulture. I got him on sale, of course, a while ago. But I mean, he's a pretty darn good pop too. But yeah, I absolutely love both the villains. So hopefully Spider-Man 3 holds up, because so far, like the as far as one like separate franchise in the MCU goes, like I'm talking about like the Iron Man trilogy, Captain America trilogy, Thor trilogy. So far, the Spider-Man trilogy has had the most, I would say, consistent like good villains. Because Captain America, or I mean, because the other ones, like they only really had like one good villain. Like I mean, most of them are pretty forgettable. But so far, Vulture was one of the best MCU villains, and Mysterio, in my opinion, is probably at least top 7 MCU villains, I'd say. And I mean, he's still very good. So yeah, just put him right there. So yeah, so that is that. So now, I believe all I have to do is my movie collection update and movie poster wall update. So we'll do the movie collection update real quick. So yeah. So first off, of course, you guys know I collect like the whole like Ninjago series and everything, so we gotta move all this stuff out of the way. Yeah, so I actually got the latest season. They take forever to come out, and then even when they do, they take forever to come to my Target, or they never do. So I was surprised when I saw this at Target when I went to go get the Lego Movie 2. But yeah, so it is the latest season. Of course, it's like the revamp of Ninjago, so they all look like how they do in the movie, which kind of sucks. But yeah, so it's season 8, Sons of Garmadon. Of course, we got rid of cable a while ago, so I only watch these once I get them on DVD. So overall, more like better than I thought it was gonna be with like the revamp and everything. But I don't really like how they're bringing Garmadon back. That was kind of a storyline at the beginning, and I feel like they're just bringing it back because of the movie and everything. But overall, it's a pretty good season. It's just I feel like the past 2 seasons, while they are good, they're just not really good standalone seasons, and I just feel like all they're really there for is to set up for upcoming seasons, from what I've seen and heard. So overall pretty good, but just kind of feels like a setup season. But also, as you guys know, the Lego Movie 2 finally got it. So that is here. So I got the Blu-ray right here, so a lot more going on than the other one. Yeah, I got that, so very happy I finally got that. I was pretty happy to finally watch it again, but I actually got the Target exclusive version, which came with the lenticular box here, which, as you can see, it's kind of just like Batman, Emmett Wild style, and like the ship and Benny and Unikitty, or whatever her name is, Ultra Kitty or whatever. But then when you actually switch, you can barely see it there. Maybe if I go the other way. No, not really. But yeah, as you can see, it's like Rex, Queen Whatever I Want to Be, and then the rest of it's still the same, but then you can kind of see right there, it's actually, if you can kind of see right there, I can't even, oh yeah, it's, you can barely see it right there, but it's Sweet Mayhem, there you go, you can kind of see it there. Yeah, and as you can see, it also came with the other things. So it actually came with a little, I can't remember what they're called, but it came with that. And then the main villain of the movie, one of the main characters, Rex Dangervest right there, which I actually really wanted a minifigure of him ever since I figured out that Sweet Mayhem wasn't the main villain like they're advertising it to be. So it's basically just like a basic Rex Dangerfest thing, which of course, as you guys know, I just collect minifigures, so I don't really get the sets, so that was pretty much the only way for me to get the minifigure. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, so I got that and just put that on display because it's, I didn't like put it on display, but it's like my Target exclusive Ready Player One lenticular thing. But it's not like it's just a slip cover. It's not like a whole box set thing. But yeah, so last up on this day vlog is my movie poster wall. So I got all the new movies here. So finally, I updated my movie poster. I was waiting for the last posters of Phase 3 to come out, which they did, of course, with Spider-Man Far From Home. So as you guys know, I had this with all, like, the movies there, and then now I got this little strip up here with the last 5, which, of course, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home there. So that is the first 3 phases there. And then, of course, I got my Infinity War and Endgame ones right there, because they're kind of like the biggest cinematic events of my life and a lot of other people's lives. And then you guys know I had a poster. I haven't seen John Wick 3 yet, but I am very excited to go, or I'm not going to go see it in theaters, but I'm very excited to rent it on Prime once it comes out. Or just get it, since I have the first 2 on physical media. But yeah, you guys know I had a poster for the first 2, which I actually took down my collage for it, because of course I made one for the 3 movies. So yeah, I just got the poster. I don't know if that's an official poster right there, but I absolutely love that poster, so I put that one there. So yeah, John Wick 1 through 3 there. And then Welcome to Marwen. I wanted to see ever since I first saw the trailer for it. They're back there, but yeah, finally rented it once it came out. So we watched it a while ago, and it was pretty darn good. I watched it with my mom and dad, and yeah, that was that. So if you haven't seen that, I would definitely recommend it. Next up is Saving Private Ryan. Yes, I finally saw it. A lot of you are probably surprised I just now saw it, but yeah, finally saw it. We actually watched it. My mom and dad, of course, have seen it, but they wanted me to watch it because we were talking about it for one of my dad's like taking college classes and stuff to get his degree, even though he's almost 50. But yeah, he's currently like in his film classes and everything. And he was talking about that, and he was just like, "Well, you've never seen it," so we rented it, and it was actually just a couple days after the D-Day, D-Day memorial or anniversary. So yeah, but that was of course very good. Didn't even really seem as long as it was. It was almost 3 hours. But yeah, very happy that I finally saw that. Directed by Steven Spielberg, won quite a few Oscars, I believe 6. So yeah. And then next up is Us, which you can see back there. Pretty darn creepy little poster there. But as you guys know, it is directed by Jordan Peele. You guys know from like his comedy duo Key and Peele, and like Keanu and everything. But yeah, so he also directed Get Out, which as you guys know I absolutely loved. And now he has a new thriller, which is Us, which me and my mom and dad were talking about for quite a few days. We're still talking about it every once in a while. We kind of reference it. But yeah, so I was pretty happy. I got pretty much all my theories about it and everything correct at the end, and I was like explaining what was going on with my mom, because if you don't really pay attention, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, it's a pretty chilling movie, and but funny at times. And if you haven't seen it, it's actually really, really good. And it's one of those movies that leaves you talking for a little while, and it at some parts it's a lot like Annihilation. So if you haven't seen Annihilation, then if you watch both of them, they kind of are a lot alike. And the ending is pretty chilling. It's just like, wait. So yeah. And then next up is Glass, which I actually took my poster down for Split a while ago, but I actually just hung up the poster for Glass just because it's like the culmination of all three, like the Unbreakable, Split, and the new character, Mr. Glass. But yeah, I watched it. I don't know if I like Split or Glass better. I just hung up the poster for Glass, just because they're about equal. I haven't seen Unbreakable actually, but I just hung it up for that because I like the poster the best. But also it's like just the culmination of all three of the anti-heroes or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, overall it was decent, I'd still say. And then last but not least, Guava Island. A lot of you have probably not heard about this. It is the one of the newest Amazon Prime exclusive movies. But yeah, right there. It actually features one of my favorite rappers, Donald Glover / Childish Gambino. And I was actually surprised. At this one point, they started like doing like the little beginning, or that they started doing like the little beginning beat to Welcome, or This Is America. I was just like, wait, did they actually like perform his Childish Gambino's music on here? And then throughout the music, like on the radio, you hear he performs a couple of his other songs throughout the movie, and then on this one part on the radio, you hear Feels Like Summer, and then yeah, it plays during the credits as well. But overall, it's actually not even an hour long. But if you have Amazon Prime, I recommend this so much. It was so good. It also has Rihanna in it. I can't remember the actress's name, but she plays Shuri, Black Panther's sister on the Black Panther and MCU and all that. But yeah, it's literally not even an hour. If you have Amazon Prime, there's literally like no reason. Just check it out. It's just like it's just like this like secluded like island from like the rest of the world, and they're just kind of like this like corporation is like all like trying to get rid of the culture on the island and like not letting him perform his music and everything, and he's just like worried about losing all the culture on the island that's so unique to it and everything. And yeah, and the ending's pretty darn sad, but pretty cool. But overall, I absolutely love that movie. So that is pretty much it. So my tongue from flying around talking is getting pretty tired. But yeah, so this day vlog was pretty darn long. But overall, if you are wondering why the day vlogs are so long, of course I'm starting to only do them about once every 2 to 3 months now. So day vlogs are probably going to be pretty long from now on, just because I'm not doing them as often. But yeah, so that is finally pretty much it for this day vlog. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.